Right, Adam Noble-Forsey here for Pro Boxing Fans. I'm joined by promoter Lee Eaton. How are you, Lee?
Yeah, very good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Welcome to Riga, Latvia. What do you make of the place?
It's a cracking place, isn't it? I've really enjoyed it so far. Had a good walk out with Vadim and that yesterday, looking around the old town and that, so yeah, it was good.
Good stuff. So we've got the MTK Golden Contract semi-final light heavyweight version. Richard Bolotniks against Hosea Burton. What I wanted to ask you about, when you were picking the fighters for the tournament, I was obviously very surprised to see Richard Bolotniks in it because I'd been working with him before. How did that come around, Richard Bolotniks getting into the tournament?
When we was doing the tournament and stuff, and I was talking to Vadim about other things and stuff like that, and he said, "What about Bolotniks?" Obviously, he'd come off a good few wins. He had good ranking. So it was a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
So just having fun. It was a no-brainer. So.
Okay, mate. Were you surprised how well he did against Stephen Ward? He absolutely demolished him. Stephen Ward is quite highly rated by your company and many people in the industry.
He didn't beat the real Stephen Ward that night because Stephen Ward he's a very, very big boy. His next fight, obviously next Wednesday, is at 14 stone 8. So he was always fighting and losing battles with that weight. So he didn't beat the real Stephen Ward that night. But what he did do, he went in and done the job and got it done. Obviously, I was very shocked on the night, but obviously I'm looking forward to Stephen Ward coming back at cruiserweight, his proper weight, because he's a very, very big boy for the light heavy, and it wasn't good for him to do that weight. So
So he's come back quite quickly. How is he mentally after that massive defeat? There's quite a lot of investment, it seems like, into him.
Yeah, no, listen, he's coming back obviously at cruiserweight, so he mentally he's fine because he knew one of the big reasons for that defeat was the weight. Obviously, he's been struggling for quite a while with that weight. Obviously, the golden contract was too good of an opportunity to miss. So I'm looking forward to Stephen get back. He's an absolute gentleman.
Yeah.
So yeah, look forward to it.
Okay, mate. This fight, a lot of people are saying this is the real final, even though it's the semi-final. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a lot of people have said the winner of this fight will win the tournament. Quite possibly. But we've still got two very good fighters in the other semi-final with Serge Michel, former Olympian, and Liam Conroy. Liam Conroy is coming in off the back of a great win. Obviously, after the Boatsi loss, he's got himself back on the saddle and he's really coming out in himself. So, quite possibly these two are the strongest and biggest punchers in the tournament. So yeah, it could be, but obviously there's still two other people in the other semi-final.
Okay, mate. So back to Riga, Latvia. Someone just put a comment on one of my interviews that I sound like a travel agent, but I live here, so I probably would kind of naturally do that. But do you see potential here, Riga, Latvia? What's your thoughts on the city so far, and what it's been doing in boxing and the fighters? It's got people like Bradis and Bolotniks, things like that.
Yeah, no, listen, Vadim and Evgeny are doing a great job. LNK Boxing, our partners in Latvia, they're doing a great job growing the homegrown talent. I've not been obviously looked at the venue yet, but obviously we'll see that tomorrow night. Obviously, Marius Bradis is in the World Boxing Super Series. Obviously, he's an accomplished world champion. And then obviously Bolotniks is WBO European champion, which is he's in the top 12 in the WBO. So there's some great fighters here, and obviously there's some good up and coming fighters, not just Latvians, obviously Ukrainians and that are on the bill tomorrow. So looking forward to watching the boxing tomorrow and seeing how obviously the homegrown talent.
How long have you been doing your role as sort of promoter, as MTK Global? It's been a few years now.
Yeah, I started with MTK end of 2016, so officially it started in January 2017 when we made MTK London. Obviously me and a very good friend of mine, Adam Hart, we took over the MTK London, basically name, and got started doing shows in March 2017. So obviously since then it's just been like a bit of a roller coaster. MTK's grown beyond everyone's wildest dreams, to be honest. I'm enjoying it. This year's been a bit quiet due to COVID, but obviously I'm just glad to be back and doing shows again.
Yeah, hey, as you bring up COVID, I am starting to sound a little bit like a broken record, but we have spoken about it off camera. How's that period been for you personally, in your role? Because you've been going all over the world, and then you've had to completely change the rules and things like that. There are no fans at the shows, trying to generate income. How's that been the last 6 months, Lee?
Yeah, do you know what? The first 6 weeks or something, it was really tough mentally. Just going from being away every weekend with the shows, every other weekend, sometimes probably 25-30 shows a year, obviously other things go through the years and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a bit tough mentally, but obviously you just got to get through it. And then since obviously April, May, we've been planning on the return, getting the shows ready, and then obviously since August we've been non-stop again. So listen, as a company it's been tough, obviously, because obviously at the show there's not much income coming from the tickets, but obviously with our ESPN deal and IFL deal, we've been able to do shows, and we've done 3 cracking shows already, and we've obviously got the golden contract next week as well, and 3 more shows planned for the rest of the year. So things are back to normal, getting busy. I'm looking forward to putting on some great shows.
Yeah. In terms of you probably can't answer this question, but in terms of bringing crowds back, we're going to have a crowd on Saturday at the show, by the way. How are you dealing with that? Because we don't know what's going on. It's like a second lockdown.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that in your position? Do you know what I mean?
You've got to just make the best of a bad situation. There's nothing we can do. The government are not allowing fans, so simple as that. There ain't no fans. I'm looking forward to Saturday actually seeing a boxing venue with some fans in it, because obviously the last time we see fans was in March the 7th show at Brentwood. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. It's quite obviously the atmosphere is not there. It's a completely different concept of boxing, basically, because you can hear everything. Do you know what I mean? Obviously your corners, your punches and stuff like that. So I'm just happy to get shows up and running with the team. Obviously the team have done a brilliant job in getting these last few shows up and running, so it's just good to have boxing back. So if there's no crowds, there's no crowds, but as long as boxing's back.
What's your opinion on what the other promoters are doing? Let's start with Channel 5. Have you been watching what they've been doing on there? Have you your opinion on that?
I haven't really watched any of the Channel 5 shows. Obviously, in all honesty, they've been quite weak cards.
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously, it's publicly on social media that they are very weak cards. But listen, I know they had a good fight the other day with Alec Del Magani and Samir Ziani.
Yeah.
God, that was a mouthful. But yeah, I know that was obviously a fight of the year, so fair play, they've done a good fight. But obviously they're bringing Isaac Chamberlain back. Obviously Isaac's a great talent, he used to be with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a good talent. So, but now with Isaac, you got to see him in a big fight rather than obviously the fights he's been having. So look forward to seeing how far he can go again. Okay. Yeah, they've got some up and coming fighters on there. He's doing a lot of work with John Pegg, who's one of the most liked and best people in boxing.
Birmingham guy,
yeah, best person in boxing. He's a great bloke, John. I speak to him 2-3 times a week on obviously on boxing matters and stuff like that. So he's doing a good thing with Mick at the minute. So yeah, I think it can only grow. And hopefully when the crowds get back, they'll have a bigger budget to do bigger fights, I assume anyway. Yeah. So good luck to them. They've got a good platform with Channel 5, so just keep the fights coming, really.
Well, obviously you guys have so many fighters. You've got fighters who have been on the Matchroom Fight Camp and the BT shows. What's your opinion first on what Eddie Hearn's been doing?
Well, the fight camp speaks for itself. Everybody was ranting and raving about it. It looked phenomenal, didn't it? And there were some great fights on there. Eddie does probably the best shows in the UK due to obviously having Sky and a big budget and stuff like that. So, but yeah, there's some big fights coming up still this year. A lot of our fighters are with Eddie, and a lot of fighters will be out before the end of the year.
Yeah. So let's get back to MTK Global. Are there any new territories? Obviously, you're here in Riga, Latvia. Are there any new territories you guys are hitting? You seem to be popping up literally everywhere.
Yeah, I think they announced something in Croatia the other day. I think there's always going to be new territories coming up. We're always in talks with, obviously, promoters, managers and stuff like that. So yeah, listen, it's just got to keep going and keep building. Obviously, MTK Global is a company. Obviously, there's a bigger team in front of me who do a lot of the work. Obviously, I'm strictly just the boxing promotions and the matchmaking and stuff. So yeah, the team, what they've done over the last few years is phenomenal. So it's good.
Okay, this will be like my final-ish question. The big fights, obviously, it's better to get a gate, better to get fans there. You know, like your really big names like Billy Joe Saunders, Tyson Fury.
Of course.
How are you dealing with that? Because we haven't really got any concrete news about anything.
Well, to be honest, with them big fights like that, obviously with your Eddies and Franks and Top Ranks and that, I don't really have much to do with that. Obviously,
okay, yeah.
That's like Jamie Conlon, Paul Gibson and stuff like that. But as a fan and as knowing the business, it's going to be very hard to put them fights on. Obviously, Eddie's put Usyk versus Chisora on behind closed doors, and obviously he's looking at possibly putting AJ on behind closed doors. So if he can do that, it's unreal, to be honest. But obviously, like your Callum Smith versus Billy Joe, how can you put that fight on without a gate? Because you need both need good purses for that, because they're both unified, both world champions. There'll be a unification. So that money, I don't know if it's going to be there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They've not got the pull as a Joshua that can do behind closed doors because of what he can do on pay-per-view. And yeah, so some of the big fights won't get made, but one fight I do want to see down the line. But before that, I want Jack Catterall to get his shot. Is Ramirez versus Josh Taylor. I think that'd be an unbelievable fight. But
yeah,
obviously, Jack Catterall's been waiting for 18 months now for his manager position. So I pray to God Jack gets his shot, and then I believe he beats Ramirez, so then he can fight Josh Taylor for all the marbles.
Okay, all right, brilliant.
Good luck to Josh Taylor, Charlie Edwards, Davey Oliver Joyce and Jordan Flynn this week, all on Frank Warren's show.
Okay, mate, we'll leave it there. Thanks for talking to us, Lee.